Hello and welcome to Coffee with Carey. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate you stopping by. Maybe to learn something, pick up a couple tips. One tip maybe, would that be worth it if it was just one? I don't know if it's a quick tip. Let's just see how it plays out. If you're new, I'm Carey. I'm a matchmaker and a dating coach. I'm in Chicago, the Chicago area. I have this channel so that I can take situations, questions, concerns, things I've learned, and share them with you here to see if you can be helpful, if you can learn something, and if it's imparting something worthwhile to you that you can take with you into your dating or relationship. So today I wanted to share a couple tips on how you can have fantastic conversations, date conversations, and it would be super easy if you just keep these few things in mind. These tips would be beneficial, I think, in making you a fantastic date conversationalist. I hope you'll stick around because that's what's on the agenda. First, I just wanted to remind you that practical tools can never hurt. You know, the best way to do that is to apply them and then forget them. Like an actor learning lines or becoming familiar with a character. They might create an entire story, a backstory for this character. Go over what the intentions were behind those lines. And then once they've done all that work, you know what their job is? Throw it all away, to have absorbed it so that they can present it in a more authentic way. And I think that's the same with dating conversations. You can use these tools to become a better conversationalist, but when you're there on the date, I don't want you picturing this video in my talking face and going, what was number 3 again? I want you to incorporate these into your all the time speaking so that they become very natural and they just flow from you as part of your natural conversational repertoire. Nothing wrong with having a few tools. That's what we're working on today. And as you know, number 1's always going to be to stay present, focused on being in the moment and being there with this person, grounded, so that you are actually communicating with another human and not off in your phone or off thinking about other things, including me and my face in these words. Next up, I want to remind you that a date conversation is not a quiz. It is not an interview, that the important thing is that you are listening and paying attention so that you can ask great follow-up questions, that you're truly involved in their stories so that it's actually sinking in, and that what you say afterwards will be thoughtful. So just being a good listener is really what I'm saying. You don't have to be getting all your questions answered from your little checklist in your head. Instead, if you're going to hear me at all or see my face, then just hear me saying, listen, pay attention to what he's saying. Be curious. Remember that you are here because you're interested in learning about this person. And then when they share something, you're interested in learning more. That's why follow-up questions are so important, because they show you are paying attention and they give you way more information that you can grab onto. So if somebody said that last night they went to go see some movie, I can't think of one that's out right now, plus that would date the episode, so it's not as relevant next year. But let's say they went to see some movie, and then you'd say, oh, do you like that director? Or have you seen any of his other movies? Did you see that last one? Those kind of questions, you'll know more about his movie style than just that one night he watched this one movie. Your follow-up questions will give you insight into who this person is. Are mysteries your favorite genre? Do you have a favorite comedy movie? Another follow-up question. All of this is going to teach you so much more by truly being interested, paying attention, and asking follow-up questions. And really, aren't the answers to these questions so much more interesting than just moving on and asking, like, where did you grow up? Where's your family live? Where did you go to school? Because, who cares about any of that if you're not enjoying this person and you're not allowing them to expound or maybe go into a story that's going to be amusing or funny or truly insightful about who they are? You're just going to find out stats and statistics. You're not going to be enjoying this person or what they're sharing with you at all. And you may not want a second date because you think that was dull or boring. But whose fault would that be? Both of yours, for allowing it to turn into an interview as opposed to an exchange of stories and things that you think are interesting. You're here to have fun, not ask boring questions you don't care about the answers to. Another tip would be try playing games. If you're dating often enough, where you're bored hearing yourself share your own 5 stories that are usually amusing and people enjoy them on these dates that you're going on. You may want to mix it up big time and instead be creative on a date. Bring some of those questions. I've got there's a playlist. What's it called? First date questions, maybe. I'll link to it here. But there's you could grab 1 or 2 of those to bring that would create a different kind of a conversation, or play a game. My daughter, I've mentioned her before, but that date, she did that a couple times where she said, don't tell me anything about you. I'm going to guess. And then she made up some wacky story, which was about his upbringing. And he was raised with the circus and his parents were the high wire act, but he was mesmerized by the elephants, or I don't know what she said. But she went into the story and she had him do the same thing and they laughed. It broke the ice and they found out whether they thought that was the common sense of humor, at least, right? And it made them be able to move on much more naturally to real conversation after that was over. So there's other games, there's other episodes I have about making a date more fun. Check those out, but being playful is super important when you're getting to know somebody, if that's truly a part of your nature. Being up on not only current events, but being able to remember, I can't sometimes remember, what great movie you saw, or a fabulous book, or an article you read, or sharing like I do sometimes with you about a study I read that I thought was super interesting or really surprising for some reason. And what was it, 14.5% of men are 6 feet or taller in the United States? Could I work that into a date? Probably not. Oh, you're 6'4"? Wow, you're a small percentage of the men in the United States. Are you aware of the fact? Maybe you are. I don't want to woman-splain to you. Most guys 6 feet and taller, that's 14.5% of the population. But being able to have things to talk about besides interview kind of stuff, all about you and those basic questions that are your values, your very specific interests or your upbringing, your history. Those history questions about you are really not important if you're not having a second date. So maybe you should be focusing more on things that would be fun to talk about for both of you so that you'd want to have a second date, and those questions will eventually, you'll get around to them. You can't have a relationship with somebody and they don't know, how many brothers and sisters you have. People always tell me that they really want to be with somebody who has something that they really enjoy or that they're passionate about, or I hope she or he have their own interests in something they really enjoy. It's kind of sexy for somebody to feel strongly and really have things they like. Those are the things you want to talk about on a date. Maybe that's your hobbies or interests or something you're learning. My son just sent me, he's got 365 days straight in learning Spanish online. I'm very proud of him. And, maybe you could try out his Spanish on somebody. They may speak Spanish and they could get off on some funny little Spanish conversation on a date. I could share with somebody that out of the blue recently I started painting. Suddenly I'm buying canvases and acrylic paints and stuff and watching videos to be inspired by other people's ideas and emulating that to create my own style. And we could talk about the art history class that he took in college, or our last crazy trip to the Art Institute of Chicago that one of us had when they got lost. You never know where it's going to lead, but talking about things that are of interest to you make you light up in a special way that somebody will see who you are, and that's very attractive to people. Talking about your ambitions is always a great way to approach date conversation, not about your job. If somebody asks what you do, make sure that you have an elevator pitch, that you can describe your job, something that makes it sound kind of interesting, that you can get off in about 2 or 3 sentences so they have a general idea of what you do for work, but you don't want to go into details about your job. That's usually not interesting to somebody unless they're vested in having a relationship with you. So get over that part quickly, but ambitions could also be your bucket list, your 5-year plan, places you want to go or things you want to do, that you're have an ambition to get to see the Eiffel Tower, or that you want to get to Wimbledon one year and experience that because you love playing tennis. Those types of ambitions are really interesting to share. It's like your passions, but it's stuff that you're looking forward to doing or experiencing. Don't forget to ask for stories. It works. I know it seems kind of weird, but just think about some of the the comedians that you see like on HBO or Netflix or maybe live if you're lucky. Comedians nowadays, a lot of them are up there for an hour and a half sometimes telling stories. They're not rattling off jokes. Some of them do that. That's their style. But I've noticed a lot of comedians nowadays have this style where they're just sharing amusing stories. I guess people think that's funny and amusing. And if you have a funny story, make sure that you kind of know that story and that you may want to pull it out so that you can share this with a person if you get anywhere near a topic where that could have been triggered by the conversation. If you're talking about travel and, he says about a trip and you've got a crazy vacation story, you might want to pull this out and share that anecdote with this person to entertain them and also give them insight into who you are and what you think is a funny situation. But also asking for stories, right? To be able to say to this person, tell me, it's kind of playful, but tell me a story about the craziest thing that happened to you that made you think that you wanted to do something else for a living for the rest of your life. Or tell me a story. Don't talk about dating, though. Don't ask for the best or worst date. That's very meta. No talking about dating and relationships on a date. But tell me about the last time that you stayed up 24 hours. There's a good one for you. I like that. That's it. That's just a list to remind you to have fun on dates. You're there because you want to get to know somebody and enjoy not just their company, but your own. And if these things make it more interesting for you, they reap the benefit of you enjoying your own company while you're out with them. And I think that's really important. I hope you found that fun, interesting, or helpful. If you did, then give the episode a thumbs up. There she is again, my mom. And then if you subscribe to the channel, that'd be great because it's free and we could hang out again sometime soon. I'll look forward to having you back. And until then, have a good one.